welcome to ET Now. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now with me, Kanishka Sarkar and Ankita Saxena, a show where our experts will answer all your stock-related queries. So a number will shortly flash on your screen, so do send in your queries with the stock name, the holding price, the time horizon that you want to keep the stock for, and your query there, and experts will answer all your queries. But before that, Ankita, how are the markets looking today?
Kanishka, as you can see, the markets are not looking very good on Friday. In fact, it's the consolidation continues. In fact, at this juncture, Nifty is below the 25,000 mark. Also, in fact, there is a fall of more than 300 points from the day's highest point on the Nifty. Nifty Bank also seeing sharp cuts. In fact, it's down almost 300 odd points from the day's highs. Both are following in tandem with each other, and so are the broader markets also. Broader markets, both mid and the small caps, also seeing cuts of more than 0.5%. Their mid cap trading with cuts of 0.5%, and small caps also down 0.5%. So it's a broad-based consolidation that's coming in on Friday morning, even though like we mentioned that on the Wall Street, the indices are sitting at live highs, but despite that, the correction in Indian markets continues and intensified, intensifying as of now, because all the sectoral indices are also trading in the red, barring Nifty Media, which is very, very marginally in the green. But a lot of pressure coming in as far as the financial pack is concerned, and that is on the back of earnings. We have a Nifty Bank that is trading with cuts of almost 1%, with Axis Bank, seeing a sharp knock of almost more than 4% in trading session on the back of weak set of quarter one numbers. So Axis Bank is in focus on the back of that. But besides that, we have some other earnings candidate. Also, we have Wipro, we have LTI Mindtree, that both of them posted their quarter one numbers. So they are in focus on the back of that. Wipro is doing well on the back of now for quarter one for Wipro turned out to be better than what we were expecting, and therefore Wipro is doing well in trade. LTI Mindtree is also in focus on the back of its quarter one earnings. Besides that, we have a couple of other names that are in focus, on the back of news flow coming in. We have Polycab also that is up 2.5%, after the brokerage has hiked the target price. We have Tata Communications that is up 4% on the back of good quarter one numbers that came in for Tata Communications as well. We have L&T Finance that is up 2% on the back of its quarter one earnings. Route Mobile, which is taking it on the chin today on the back of weak set of quarter one earnings. So a lot of earnings candidate, Kanishka, that are really moving in the trade. But largely, if you look at the market, advanced decline ratio is clearly tilted in the favor of declines, and India VIX has also shot up 3.6% at this point. 11.6 is where India VIX is at. So it shows greater volatility, the shooting up of India VIX, and therefore we do see markets in general, we see a correction coming in as of today.
That's right. We are seeing a correction coming in today, so no Friday cheer for the market. But before we get started with all the queries, we have an exclusive story here. We have more exclusive updates on the SBI QIP. Now, according to sources, it will close on July 21st, and the new shares will list on July 22nd. Now, who are the book running lead managers? My colleague Anurag Joshi is here with all those exclusive details.
State Bank of India, India's biggest lender in terms of assets, will close its qualified institutional placement of equity shares on Monday, July 21. Now the SBI QIP has secured subscriptions over 4 times the number of shares on offer, sources have told ET Now. And the pay-in for the QIP is on Monday, and new shares are likely to be listed on the exchanges on Tuesday. Life Insurance Corporation of India supported the issue and is said to have anchored around 7,000 crore rupees of the QIP issue. If you look at the banks, the Citi, HSBC, ICICI, Kotak, Morgan Stanley and SBI Capital Markets, this is the biggest QIP so far from an Indian company in this year.
All right. Thank you so much, Anurag, for joining us. Now, the biggest QIP that we're going to see, SBI coming out with a QIP of 2,500 odd crores there. But let's move on and get started with our show then. The number is flashing on top of the screen. Keep sending in your questions, your buying price, your holding period and your query, and we'll get them answered by our experts. And to answer all your questions now, we're joined by Lancelot D'Cunha, the Chief Investment Officer of ValueX Wealth Connect. Hi, Lancelot. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning to you. let's get going with all the questions then. The first question is coming in from Padma, who's writing in. She's a senior citizen. She wants to know if it's a good idea to sell Varun Beverages as it has been sluggish. Yes, Varun Beverages has not done anything and move on to a banking name. A good idea to do that, Lancelot, given that Varun Beverages has not been doing well and the financial and the banking pack has been a common consensus.
So, I think Varun Beverages has fallen, but more so because the near-term outlook for, growth may be impacted. But, they have also taken up new franchisees for PepsiCo in Africa. And these are expected to probably give them, good results going forward. So if one is got a little longer term investment perspective, then I think one should just hold on to Varun Beverages, because as the new investments which they made overseas start to generate profits, we will see the stock getting re-rated, and then it should start moving, back up at that point in time.
Okay, so a whole call coming for Varun Beverages. But the next question is about BSE. So our viewer Venkatrao from Visakhapatnam is writing to us. He has 80 shares at a price of 2,808 rupees. He wants to know at what price should he consider averaging.
So he has 80 shares at a price of, what was his price, you said?
2,800.
2,800. So I think, there was a lot of issues regarding the volume drop, both because SEBI had at one time put in some restrictions on futures and options for retail investors, as well as, the recent issue that we are facing with, Jane Street could impact the volumes, especially on the derivative side. And we are seeing some kind of, impact. But one has to look at it from a little longer term perspective as to the growth in number of demat accounts, the additional investors coming into the market. So over a longer period of time, I think volumes will start to go back up, and with higher volumes, exchanges, as they are structured to have a fixed cost of operation, and the additional income, basically goes to the profit at the bottom line, and that drives up the valuation. So I think one should stay invested in BSE, maybe even average out at this particular level. If it does fall further, gives you an opportunity to buy some more, because over the longer term period, exchanges will provide you sustainable growth and in earnings.
All right, moving on then from BSE to the next question. This is Prasad is writing in from Hyderabad. He says he's holding 300 shares of United Spirits and he's bought it at a buying price of 1,488. He wants to know if he can hold it for the next 1 year, or should he be switching to another counter. Lancelot, what is your opinion on United Spirits for the period of next 1 year? Is it a good hold, or perhaps switch to some other counter within the same category?
I think the stock has corrected, quite significantly over the last couple of months, and obviously there is some amount of slowdown seen in the growth because of there was earlier inflation, disposable income was a little lower for people, but now we are starting to see and expect that going forward, then with inflation coming off, interest rates coming off, and again growth starting to pick up, you will see some improvement in the sales of United Spirits going forward. So if you are a long-term investor, then one can wait for the next 12 months, hold on to the stock. And once it gets re-rated, then you should be able to get, higher returns.
Okay, so a whole call for United Spirits. Lancelot, now the other question is about CANS and CDSL. This viewer, Satyaveni from Visakhapatnam, wants to know what are the correct entry levels for these two counters. Their holding period is 1 year.
So I think, for these two counters, one needs to wait for a little bit more correction, because the stocks are trading at, at highs. And given that, you will see, while the valuations are a little bit stretched, and going forward, you may see the stocks getting re-rated based on, on the results, which may be a little bit flat, or growth may not be as much as what it was expected earlier. So given that background, I think one should either wait for a while before adding these stocks to the portfolio. Maybe around 8 to 10% lower would be a good entry level to look at the stocks.
All right. Before we get started with all your questions, a little what's coming up is it's the fact that it's been a roller coaster ride for the world, and yet Indian benchmarks have been range bound as they can be. But despite the recovery in the SIP flows every month, geopolitical tensions driven by Trump's tariff and fresh concerns over derivatives trading, the Indian market seems to be holding pretty steady. Now, what's the way forward, and what are the next big themes? And will India's consumption boom sustain? Well, next week on Monday, Swaroop Mohanty will be donning the hat of ET Now and ET Now Swadesh's guest editor to help our viewers navigate this uncertain backdrop. Stay tuned for an insightful trading day.
From managing wealth to headlines, he has shaped investment journeys across India. And now he is curating the newsroom. His views moves markets. And this time, he is setting the agenda.
Hi, I'm Swaroop Mohanty, the guest editor on ET Now. Catch me on 21st July, leading the conversation on money and markets, only on ET Now, where you rise with India.
All right, so on that note, we'll take a very short break, but more of your queries will be answered on the other side, so do keep sending them in.
Welcome back. You're tuned into Buy Now, Sell Now, where we are getting all your stock-related questions answered. The number is flashing on top of your screen, so keep sending in your question and we'll get them answered by the experts. And now joining us on the expert panel is Osho Krishnan, who's the Chief Manager, Technical and Derivative Research, Angel One, and Lancelot, of course, from the first segment. Hi, Osho. Welcome. And thank you so much for joining us. Osho, let me come to you for this question then. This is Nikhil Sharma who's writing in from Mumbai. He says he's an intraday trader. He wants to know when is the right time to buy TCS for the long term. Now, he wants to enter TCS. What are the entry levels to watch out for? And he wants to enter it for the long term.
Very good morning to all of you. Well, looking at the recent developments in TCS and the quarterly earnings, obviously the fundamentals and technicals are quite sluggish on the recent period, but I expect that on the lower end, support lies around the zone of 3080 to 3060 kind of a zone. So if there will be a further dip towards the zone of 3080, 3060, that will be a decent levels to start accumulating the counter. Already the counter has seen a very strong plunge from the zone of 43, 4400 from the higher end towards now 3200. So I expect that further downside is limited in the counter. Near to 200 points of a dip can be seen as a buying opportunity from a long-term point of view.
Okay. Hi, Osho. This is Kanishka also joining in. So the next query we have coming from Somashekhar, who's written to us from Bangalore. He wants to know your view on Exide. He's bought at a price of 460 rupees, 200 shares. He wants to know whether he should continue to hold, average, or exit.
See, currently this counter is not having any kind of positive momentum with itself. Although in the recent period, we have seen that the counter is having a very strong consolidation around the zone of nearly 370 or 380. So this can be seen as a strong consolidation support zone for the counter, and any breakthrough above the zone of 400, which also coincides with the 200 the simple moving average, can give a very strong momentum in the coming period. So I expect that for now the counter should one should stay sidelined from the counter, and any breakthrough on the higher end above the zone of 400 can be seen as a buying opportunity. And once it happens, then from here onwards we can see a counter trend for upside target of nearly 460 to 465 from short to medium term time frame.
All right, so that's Exide on the charts. But moving on to the next question, this is Tarun who's writing in. He wants to know, he holds a IndusInd Bank. He's invested 10 lakhs at a buying price of 1,057 and 5 lakhs at a buying price of 702. For the long-term horizon, what is your view, Lancelot, on IndusInd Bank? Now, given that IndusInd Bank has been through so much, in the long term, do you see perhaps some hope for IndusInd Bank in the long-term future?
Well, I definitely see that, yes, IndusInd Bank, all the negatives have got priced in the current levels. And given that, all the provisions have been made, and we're very unlikely to see maybe any major change in the non-performing assets going forward, because most of the provisions have been made and assets have been identified. However, for the bank to recover and to grow, and in order to compete with the other banks who have already been moving forward or ahead, I think it was going to take a little longer period of time. So, given that background, it may be worthwhile to look at, maybe exiting IndusInd Bank and moving to more solid banks like maybe an ICICI Bank or a State Bank of India or a HDFC Bank. That would be a better option, to hold on, because at least the growth in the earnings as well as growth in the profitability of these companies is definitely much more certain than, growth coming in from IndusInd Bank. So while you might generate higher returns in IndusInd Bank if the stock really turns around in a short period of time, more likely to do better with the other three banks.
Okay, so that's the view on the entire banking space. But now, Osho, coming to you, we have a query on Dixon Tech. This is Mohan writing from Orissa. He's a retired government employee. He wants to know, he's been holding 7 shares of Dixon Tech at a price of 15,600 rupees. He's been holding them for the past 45 days. He wants to know whether it's a good idea to continue holding them for a period of 3 months, or should he move on to another script?
See, overall, Dixon Tech is looking very positive on the technical front. It is having a symmetrical triangle kind of a pattern. Although the breakout is still pending, I am expecting that on the higher end, any breakout above the zone of 16,450, 500 can give a very strong boost to the counter. So once you stay invested in this counter, I expect that in the short-term period, when the time horizon is nearly 3 months, one should definitely stay intact with their investment. I expect that any breakthrough above the zone of 1600, 450, 500 kind of a zone can give a very strong momentum in the counter. And on the higher end, the next potential target that one can expect is near about 18,000, 18,200 from a short-term point of view. So yes, definitely a hold at current levels. Although if one needs to have a stop loss, then it's better to keep a stop loss around the cost zone.
All right, so that's Dixon Tech on the charts. But moving on to the next question, this is Kusuma who's writing in from Pune. She wants the technical outlook on ABB for the next 6 to 9 months. She's already sitting at a loss of 20%. Should she be holding it? What are the price levels and the support levels to watch out for, Osho, for ABB?
See, currently the counter is into a kind of a consolidation zone, because after the plunge from the zone of 9,000, the counter have taken a decent support from 5,000, 5,500 kind of a zone. And from there onwards have started gaining some decent traction. It's not that from here onwards there is a counter trend in this counter, but I expect that in the short-term period, the downside is limited. Now the zone of 5,000 should be acting as a very strong support zone, while on the higher end, any breakthrough above the zone of 6,000 on a decisive or sustained manner can give a counter trend in this counter. So I expect that one should stay intact with their investment from a duration of nearly 9 months if someone is having. So one should definitely stay invested in this counter. I expect that the time it surpasses the zone of 6,000, then from there onwards, we can see a decent movement. Firstly, 7,200 as the first target. And even if it surpasses the zone of 7,200, then 7,800 will be the next potential target for the counter.
Okay, so ABB India, hold call coming in, 7,200 is the first target that the stock might reach. Okay, so on to you, Lansert now. Mahendra from Mumbai is writing to us about Nestle. He has purchased the stock at an average price of 2,543. He's been holding them for the past 6 months. Could you give us your view on Nestle? Should he consider holding or sell the stock? What's your long-term view here?
So I think probably the worst is behind Nestle in terms of the growth scenario that was there. The consumption in the economy was growing fairly slowly, and that was impacting companies, FMCG companies like Nestle, Hindustan Lever, in terms of their growth. However, now we are seeing some green shoots in the economy in terms of consumption trends improving, and you are seeing some amount of growth coming back. Could be in the second half of this year, the benefit that was there by the government, reducing the income tax for people having income of below 12 lakhs may also spur some amount of consumption. The inflation that is coming down could also generate sufficient surplus in the hands of consumers, and that would mean that they could go out and buy more. So given that background, I think it is probably a good idea to hold on to Nestle for a while, and maybe one would get much better returns over the next 12 months.
All right, so holding it for the next 12 months will give better returns for Nestle. But let's move on to the next one. This is, okay, again, somebody has not written their name. Please do write in your name so that we can attribute the question to you. It gets easier, but they want to know about BHEL. They're holding 500 shares. They bought it at a buying price of 267. He's a short-term trader. He wants to know how long should he be waiting to reach his price. Now, obviously, he's sitting at a loss. Osho, he's bought it at 267. How long should he be waiting to reach this price, or what should be the strategy really at this juncture?
See, overall, I expect that in the recent period or in a very short-term period, there can be potential downside or profit booking in these counters. So I expect that on the lower end, 245, 240 is the first and immediate support for the counter. Even if it breaches below that, then the counter has a potential to test the zone of 230. So for a short-term perspective, it will be advisable to keep a stop loss of 240 and hold the stock. While from a longer term perspective, I expect that this is a period of consolidation and a breather for the counter. So there might be some kind of further continued consolidation or sideways momentum that can be seen in this counter. But overall, if someone can hold it from a longer term perspective, that means for let's say 3 months, then one can definitely hold with their investment in this counter. But if the view is very short term, then 240 will be the final stop loss for BHE.
Okay, so those are the targets to look at for BHEL. Lancelot, now coming to you, I want to take your view on the pharma space. This is the viewer Venkat Ramani who's writing to us from Bangalore. They want to know which is a better buy, Zydus Life or Laurus Labs. They want to hold the stock for a period of 18 months.
Is this for me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I think for a period of 18 months, maybe Laurus Labs might be a better option, although 18 months is very short term in terms of an outlook. But given that we are seeing some positive developments coming in Laurus Labs as far as the growth is concerned, you could hold on, and when those events actually unfold, you would get some immediately an additional upside.
All right, moving on to the next question. This is coming for the auto pack. Now, this person wants wants a recommendation on the bot. Again, there is no name. Please kindly send in your names. We won't be able to take your queries otherwise. This is they want a suggestion on Escort Kubota. They've bought it at a buying price of 3,850, and Bajaj Auto that has been bought at 9,000 rupees. They want of your view, Osho, on Escort Kubota and Bajaj Auto.
See, firstly, for Escorts Kubota, then this counter is into a consolidation zone, not very much positive on the technical front. But looking at the recent development, the counter have now taken a decent period of time-wise corrective phase, and from here onwards, there is high possibility for the counter to surge on the higher end. But immediately 3,540, 3,540 is the first intermediate resistance for the counter. Once it surpasses the zone of 3,540, then we can see continued positive momentum on the higher end for next potential target of near to 3,900. So overall, the technical outlook is sideways to positive, and one can try to start accumulating the counter at current levels. Now, same goes with Bajaj Auto. Bajaj Auto has also not done very much in the recent period, but now the counter have started gaining some kind of lost ground, and it is into a consolidation phase, currently hovering around the cluster of its moving average. So I expect that at any time, if it breaches the zone of 84.50, 84.60 kind of a zone, then from there onwards, we can see some kind of positive traction coming in this counter. So one can start accumulating only above the zone of 84.60 from a short to medium term point of view.
Okay, so that's the view on Bajaj Auto and Escorts Kubota. But Lancelot, now coming to you, our viewer Thomas George from Cochin has written to us. He wants your view on the defense pack. If you could suggest one stock from the defense pack that he wants that he can hold for a longer term.
So actually, the defense pack has a lot of different types of companies. You have the docks, which are the Mazgon docks, and the other companies. You have the longer term armament companies. Then there are companies which are in the private sector in the defense space, but valuations are all a bit stretched. But maybe one company that still offers reasonably good value is Bharat Electronics. And while the stock has gained, almost 35% in the last 1 month, as well as it looks it looks a little expensive to add in at this point in time. But if you are very, very keen that you must buy something, then given the longer term outlook, over the next 3 to 5 years, this company can generate significant profits given its large order book and its execution capabilities. So one can look at investing in Bharat Electronics from a longer term perspective.
So Bharat Electronics for the longer term bet from the defense pack. But moving on to the next question, this is Mika, who's writing in from UAE. She wants to know your view on Praj Industries. She's bought 103 stocks at a buying price of 542 rupees. She wants to know what would be a good time to average Osho. Praj Industries, when can she start averaging in? What should she be doing with this particular counter?
Currently the counter is into a very strong sideways consolidation zone. So I expect that the momentum should return in Praj Industry only once it surpasses the zone of 520, that too on a sustained manner. So it will be advisable to accumulate the counter only above the zone of 520. If it happens, then from here onwards, we can see a very decent upsurge near to 640, 650 in the short-term period. So 520 will be a critical zone. If it breaches 520, then one should start accumulating the counter. The next immediate target or a hurdle is visible around the zone of 600 to 620.
All right, but that is time for us to slip into a short break. Don't go anywhere. After the break, we continue to take in your queries. Keep sending them in. On the other side, we get you your questions answered.
Welcome back to ET Now. You're watching Buy Now, Sell Now with me, Kanishka Sarkar and Ankita Saxena, a show where we are taking all your stock-related queries with our experts. Now, let's get back to the queries then. Now, Osho, coming to you first. We have a query on Axis Bank. This viewer has 150 shares at a price of 1,075 rupees. What's your view on this stock? How is it looking on the charts after, that weak set of numbers that we saw yesterday? And they also have queries on defense stocks. They have BEL, HAL and Mazgaon Dock. What do you suggest that they should do with these counters?
Firstly, for Axis Bank, then this counter definitely have reacted to the poor quarterly earnings and now near about 6% down on the intraday basis. But overall, the technical setup is still positive. These kind of dips or these kind of corrections should be used to start accumulating the counter. Although I won't be saying that at current price one should start investing in this counter. One should wait for further follow-up sell-off in the counter. If it happens, then 1,050, 1,060 will be the zone where one should start accumulating this counter from a medium to long-term perspective. From a shorter-term point of view, yes, it is at a lower zone below all the short-term moving average. So there can be some kind of continued sell-off that can be seen in this counter. But overall, I expect 1,050 to 60 can be seen as the immediate support for Axis Bank. Now coming to the defense space, then most of the counters have definitely seen a very drastic surge in the recent period. But after a decent period of consolidation, now I am expecting that there can be some kind of further profit booking in majority of the defensive space. Firstly, for HAL, HAL has given a breakdown in today's trading session below the zone of 4,800, and I expect that it should continue towards the zone of 46 or 45.50 kind of a zone. So at that levels, one should start accumulating these counters from short to medium term point of view.
All right, so that's on the technical view for Axis Bank as well as the defense pack. But moving on to the next question, this is Satyaveni who's writing in from Hyderabad. He wants a technical view on L&T that he's purchased at a buying of 3,880 rupees, and persistent system that he's bought it at 5,980 rupees. He wants to know what price can he buy more quantity. So he wants to add more to persistent and both L&T. Osho, what would be the good levels to get in?
See, firstly, for L&T, then we have seen that this counter have not seen any kind of positive traction in the broader term time frame from the month of February 2024 till now. The counter is hovering in a very strong and very broader range bound movement. So I expect that only once it breaches the zone of 3,700 on a decisive manner, then only we can see a continued momentum in this counter. But for the short term perspective, the counter is still having some sideways momentum. So I expect that one should stay intact with their investment from a longer term point of view in L&T. In short term point of time, I expect that the counter can see some kind of further correction towards the zone of 3350, and that will be an apt level to start accumulating this counter. Now, coming to persistent, again, the counter have seen some kind of correction from the higher zone of nearly 6,200 towards 5,500 kind of a zone as of now, and there can be some further continued sell-off in the counter that can be seen. So I expect that the zone of 5,200 will be a decent support for the counter. So any dip towards the zone of 5,200 or 5,250, that should be the level where one should try to start accumulating persistent system also.
Okay, so that's the view on persistent systems and L&T. But Lancelot, now coming to you, we have a viewer, Bhartavaj, who's written to us from Coimbatore. They have 630 shares of JK Tires at a price of 290 rupees. He wants to know whether he should add at the current levels. He's looking to hold the stock for the next 2 to 4 years. And if not, could you suggest another tire stock that he could add to his portfolio?
Well, I think if he's holding JK Tires and he's looking at a long term, he can continue in the stock. But given that, if you look at the options, I think TVS Sri Chakra tires could also be a good option to switch out, because at the present levels, you can switch into this because valuations are lower and the outlook is almost similar as far as growth is concerned. Both are in the same industry. They have significant market share in South as well as in the West. So one can look at switching to TVS Sri Chakra tires.
All right, moving on from JK Tires to this is Phillips Gasper, who's writing in from Kolkata. He says he wants a view on BEL. He's holding 715 shares. He's bought it at a buying price of 100 rupees. He wants to know the view. Now, BEL, Lancelot had already spoken about, but I'll come to you then, Osho. What do you see in the charts for BEL?
See, firstly, if the person is holding from the zone of 100 till now, so that's a very decent movement that we have seen, nearly 4x of the investment amount. But yes, at current levels, I expect that there can be some kind of profit booking that can be seen on the technical front, approximately because we have seen a vertical rally from the zone of 320 towards 440, and from there onwards in the last 2 weeks there has been some kind of profit booking from the higher end, so that can be continued in this counter. I expect that the zone of 370 to 360, that will be a very crucial support. So if it comes towards the zone of 360, 370, then one can even try to add more from a longer term point of view. In shorter term, yes, there can be some kind of blip, but there is no sign of caution in this counter.
Okay, so that's the view on BHEL. But another question for you, Osho. This is Sonu writing from Bangalore. He has 500 shares of Karnataka Bank at an average price of 205 rupees. He's been holding the stock for over a year. He wants to know, should he consider exiting it at this point and, move into another PSU bank?
See, Karnataka Bank as of now is not performing very well on the technical front because it is hovering well below the 200 simple moving average. Although in looking at the recent development in the current financial year, the counter have started gaining some kind of traction from the lower zone. So I expect that if it breaches the zone of 205, 210 on a decisive manner, then there can be a continued momentum towards the zone of 230. So that will be a critical zone to watch out for if it moves beyond the zone of 205 or not. So at present levels, the risk is very much limited because I'm not expecting a fall in this counter from current levels. The support is very nearby, near the zone of 185, 82 is the very strong support for the counter. So once they stay intact with their investment on the higher end, any breakout above the zone of 205 can give a very strong boost, and the counter has a potential to test the zone of 230 from medium term point of view.
All right, that's the view coming in on Karnataka Bank, but this is another banking query. This one on Axis Bank. He's holding 300 shares. Rajesh from Delhi is writing in. He holds Axis Bank at a buying price of 1,180, and he wants to know what are the future prospects. Is it a hold or a sell? Lancelot, let me come to you. He's a retired person. For this, so this is for the long-term perspective. Axis Bank. What do you see for Axis Bank?
I think, for Axis Bank, just because one quarter we've seen NPAs increase or, stressed assets increase and provisioning go up, it's not necessary that this will continue to be a longer term trend. So one needs to watch out for the next 2 quarters, given that, we have seen liquidity in the markets improve, especially because RBI has provided sufficient liquidity. The cost of funding has also come down for banks. Deposit mobilization has improved for even Axis Bank. So I think one needs to wait for a quarter or two and see whether the trend of, of stressed assets and NPAs has reversed. And if that is the case, then one can continue to hold it for a long-term view. However, if in the next 2 quarters one sees the situation, deteriorating or becoming financially a little bit more, difficult, then one should look at exiting and moving to maybe stronger banks at that point in time.
All right, so that's the view on Axis Bank. But thank you so much, Lancelot and Osho, for joining us today and helping us decode all the queries that our viewers have been sending to us. On that note, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining. All right, then let's shift focus to a very special story. Now, Maharashtra is making big moves to grow through its ports and improve water transport and logistics. At the Maharashtra Maritime Summit 2025, government leaders and industry experts shared new plans that support India's maritime development goals for 2030 and beyond. Let's take a look.
In a significant step towards port-led economic development, the Maharashtra Maritime Summit 2025 was held in Mumbai, hosted by the Maharashtra Maritime Board, Ministry of Ports and Fisheries, Government of Maharashtra, in collaboration with Times Network.
Honorable Prime Minister of India is very keen on developing the port-led economy, and he rightly feels that if we develop the maritime economy, India can be the next major player in global supply chain. And that is why the Government of India has created the India Maritime Vision for 2030 and India Amrutkal Maritime Vision for 2047.
At this August gathering, Minister Nitesh Rane emphasized how Maharashtra's maritime strategy is not only about infrastructure, but also about creating jobs, building global partnerships, and driving long-term growth.
The summit is just not a dialogue. It is a call to action for stakeholders like you to become partners in our ambitious maritime growth story. Our vision is not limited to capacity enhancement. It is rooted in sustainability. From green logistics and multimodal integration to empowering coastal communities, we are creating a robust and inclusive maritime ecosystem.
From shipbuilding and recycling to clean passenger transport and global partnerships, the summit reflected a unified vision towards positioning Maharashtra as a driving force in India's maritime resurgence.
And well, the Madhya Pradesh CM Dr. Mohan Yadav visited the La Liga headquarters in Madrid to explore partnerships of football development. He proposed setting up a football excellence centers under the PPP model, introducing Spanish coaching and upgrading sports infrastructure in the state. The Chief Minister invited La Liga's global investors to Madhya Pradesh, citing ease of doing business policies like start your business in 30 days. The aim is to leverage La Liga's global expertise to empower youth, create jobs, promote social inclusion and boost international branding and investment in Madhya Pradesh. Now, with a 3-day tour of Spain branded as an investment boosting opportunity, Mohan Yadav interacted with some of the officials at the La Liga office land, lauded them for providing good facilities to nurture young footballers. And well, with that, it's curtains down on this edition of Buy Now Sell Now. Kanishka and I will take your leave. We'll see you on Monday at 11 o'clock. Keep sending in your questions and we'll get them answered on Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in.